Hey everybody, this is Brian. Welcome to the 128th Qt tutorial with C++ and GUI programming. If you found any of these useful, feel free to visit my website, voidrealms.com, click on donate, and make a donation of any size or denomination. Also, on the site, you have the full source code for this and all other tutorials. Just select Qt as the language and search for whatever you're looking for. Alright, so actually, you know what, let me back up. This was about how my day's been. It is like blistering cold and it's snowing like crazy. Americans say, holy crap, before hitting the ditch on the snow-covered road. Canadians say, hold my coffee and watch this. I'm telling you, the roads were like almost impassable. It was ridiculous. So we're going to make a new QWidget project. And we're just going to call this My Watcher. And we're going to give this a Q dialog, not a QWidget. There we go. I'm going to add the concurrent library. Alrighty. We're going to set up our GUI real quick here. I'm thinking about getting an MBA or a Master's of Business Administration. I actually work in IT, but I'm just kind of like looking for some extra oomph on my resume, you know? I mean, I could get a programming job, but there really aren't many of them, and most of them around here are very low pay, and they're not my favorite languages. We're just going to hit the clicked slot. There we go. So like I could go get like a Java job or a C# job, but they're entry level because I don't have 10,000 years of experience in that language, which is sad, but it's kind of what the industry's coming to. All right, so we're going to just add our includes in here. We're going to add a QProgress dialog. We're going to include the QConcurrent. And of course our trusty QDebug, which I wish they would just add that right in so we wouldn't have to declare it, but we're going to add QThread and give you a little bit of what this tutorial is about. We're going to add the QFutureWatcher. Alright, let's just give this thing a good build, make sure it actually builds and runs and all that fun stuff. There we go. So the premise of this is we're going to enter a value, hit go, and a progress dialog will come up with a little cancel button that we can cancel at any time. And we'll see the progress of this as it goes. So let's actually make our little static do task, and we'll say int reference to the number. Alright, so now we've got our function that we're going to actually call on a separate thread, and we're just going to add some boring time-consuming stuff here. So say QDebug. Whoops. My fingers are cold, I can't type. I mean, when I say cold, it is like -10 degrees outside. It's just blistering cold. I like winter, but this is getting to be a bit much for me, and winter's just started. Last year, we had 2 weeks in a row where it was -14. See, I'm thinking about it. I meant to say -10, but it's actually -14. So for for int, and we're just going to basically make a really boring, time-consuming thing that does absolutely nothing, just because I want to focus on the actual, you know, QFutureWatcher class. And we're going to say QThread, current thread, and we're going to say mssleep, and we're going to sleep for 50 milliseconds. And then we're going to QDebug out. I've been playing this video game called Dota 2, D-O-T-A 2. It's called Defense of the Ancients. And it's got me kind of addicted. I don't really get hooked on games that much. I mean, I play them and then I just don't care, but... Alright, so processing number I of... Sorry, I lost my train of thought. I've been playing this game and it's really challenging. It's very dynamic. So if you're out in Steam, sorry I'm losing my voice, you can look me up and maybe we'll play around a Dota together. So we're just going to sleep for 50 milliseconds. We're going to say processing number I of max. And let's actually just... add a little eye candy there. So like I said, we're really just not doing anything important. This is just a time-consuming task. And we're going to do this on each item in our vector. And if you remember right, we're going to do a QVector. And of course, this is a template class, so we have to give it a template. We'll call it vector. I always want to say Victor for some reason. And we're going to say I is 0. And we're going to say I is less than UI spinbox value. We're just going to fill this array with, the vector with just junk values. Vector append I. So before we go any further, let me kind of explain this a little bit, what's going on here. So when we run this, we're going to enter a value, like 99, and we're going to click go. And when we click go, it's going to take this QVector and it's just going to fill it with 99 or whatever we put in here values. Then we're going to actually make a QFutureWatcher and map. Remember what a map does? It maps a vector to a function and calls that function on each item in the container. So that's really what we're doing. But the QFutureWatcher class is going to allow us to control that and actually monitor it. Actually, let me back up here and do a QProgress dialog, and we'll just call this pdiag. Well, call it log because pdiag is just going to drive me crazy. Pdialog, all right. And we're going to say set label text. And in a real world kind of thing, you would do like compute a hash or do some calculate the trajectory of the stars or whatever. So QFutureWatcher. And we're not going to return anything from this. There's no big grand value that we're going to return. We just want to actually control this directly. Now we're going to say watcher set future, and we're going to actually do the Qt concurrent map, and this function actually returns a new QFuture. So notice how the QFuture is void, which is why our FutureWatcher is also void. Alright, so we're going to map our, if I can get that out of there, vector, and we're going to map it to the dialog classes do task. So when we run this bad boy, we're going to actually map that, which remember, this, because we're using the Qt concurrent, is going to run that in a thread, many different threads depending on what's available in the global Qt thread pool. Now, we want to actually see what's going on here, so we need to connect up some signals and slots. Alright, so we're going to say ploss, what's that? Pdiag is what I want. I'm doing it, if you notice, kind of the old-fashioned way, just because it's what I'm used to. And I also had a complaint about the new way. They were having problems with it, so they had asked that I do this final tutorial with this way. Alright, so watcher, we're going to say cancel. Make sure that's actually in there. Yep. And then we're going to hook up the watcher here. finished. Oh, I want P dialog. And I've seen this similar tutorial out there, so I almost feel like I'm plagiarizing, but this is like the de facto way of showing how to use the QFutureWatcher. I've tried to come up with better illustrative examples, but this is really about the best there is. Some actually modify a JPEG, others will just do something funky with an array. So watch if I can get that out of there. Jeez. Alright, so watcher, we're going to say signal. And we want the progress range changed. And we're going to set that to the P dialog. And we're going to set the set range. I don't know. I mean, it's kind of a wash. I'm just so used to doing the old way of signals and slots, but it is very time consuming and it's much more error prone. But I have had some complaints from people, I suspect they're still using Qt4, saying that it wasn't working or that it didn't connect or something. But, they got mad and kicked their cat or something. Alright, so we're going to say progress value changed. And we're going to say, so if you are using Qt4 from this tutorial on, we will be using the new way of connecting signals and slots unless there's some gross problem, at which point we'll address it when we get there. Alright, so we're connecting up our signals and slots, and now we are just going to go P dialog, exec, which if you remember, exec will actually show it module, meaning that the underlying window cannot really be modified. Watcher, and we are going to wait for finished. Alright, now I should actually just connect up these signals and slots first, now that I think about it. That way, because this could potentially fire off before these are connected. That's just the nature of multi-threading. So we're going to wait for finished. Now, let's actually give this a good build just to make sure I didn't goof anything up. Alright. And we're going to say if watcher is canceled, then we're going to do something else. We'll do something else. And let's actually just, for giggles here, add in a Q message box. Alright, so we're going to say QDebug. Somebody asked me what are some of my favorite video games. Like I said, I've been hooked on Defense of the Ancients 2, or Dota 2 as it's called. But I don't know. I fall in and out of video games pretty fast. Like I bought, what was it, Shadows of Mordor? And it was actually a really amazing game, but I got kind of bored with it. I did eventually beat it, but like I said, I got kind of bored with it. And it's not a fault of the game itself. I have very low attention span. If you haven't watched too many of my videos, you will definitely notice. I'll be like, oh, and this variable, blah, blah, blah. Oh, hey, kitty. You click cancel. Let's see if I can hold my attention long enough to finish this program here. And through the magic of copy and paste, we're just going to say all done. So, whew, that was a lot more typing than I anticipated for some reason. Alright, so when we click the button, we're going to fill the vector with just junk data. We're going to make a progress dialog. We're going to set the label. We're going to make a QFutureWatcher. And then we're going to connect our signals and slots. And then we're going to watcher set future. Basically, we're saying we're going to watch the future. The future is being returned from the QConcurrent map. You could very easily say QFuture equals QConcurrent map. Let's just copy this whole thing out here to task. You could very easily do something like that, but it's much more inline if you do this. And so we're going to set the future, which is the map, and the map, of course, takes a vector, our little list here, or the container as it's called, and maps each item to a function. In this case, the doTask, which does absolutely nothing. It's just a time-consuming task. The reason why it's time-consuming is because I have a pretty beefy computer, and it'll whip through that thing pretty quickly. We're going to show the dialog. Then we're going to wait for finished. And then if it's canceled, we're going to say, hey, it was canceled. Otherwise, we're going to say finished. Now, if it's all works as expected, this should actually be pretty spiffy. So let's just say 99. All right. So you can see it's showing the progress, and you can see we're processing. And if we just let it go, it'll say all done. I should probably change that because it looks like an error. Let's actually do that. Let's not say critical. Let's say, what is it? Information. All right. So let's do 99 again. And if we just let this go, we've seen what happens. It gets all the way through. And we click cancel. It says you clicked cancel. Notice how we stop. Of multi-threaded programming here is you can see how it's processing 77, 80, 74, 76. It's just jumping all around because it's just going to get these as threads become available in the thread pool. And some threads may take longer than others. It's just how threads work. Well, that's all for this tutorial. I hope you found this educational, entertaining, and this is actually kind of slightly addictive just to watch this thing go. But feel free to visit my website, donate if you'd like, otherwise feel free not to. The source code is freely available.